Currently in Vancouver, inventory is high, price discovery is messy, and not all properties have a prayer in this market to sell. Some listings are basically engagement repellent, where buyers scroll right past them, agents won't touch them, and they burn months on market. Today, I'm breaking down the 10 product types losing money right now, why they're struggling, and how to avoid becoming the next dead listing. Let's start where the pain is the loudest, and that is in the assignment category. You are seeing assignments all over the MLS, and that's for a multitude of reasons. We already know, and I've highlighted it in a lot of my previous videos, the new construction market is in a complete tailspin, and for a lot of these investors who thought this was a cheat code to be printing money are not seeing the gains, and with these increase in interest rates, they can't make these payments. Just yesterday, I took a call from a YouTube subscriber of mine, and they are trying to figure out the best way forward on one of their upcoming completion projects. They are thinking of walking away from their $95,000 deposit because it's likely going to save them money from completing on it and then selling it as a loss, and that is where we are at. 2 years ago, assignments felt like a complete cheat code, but today they're the yard sale at the end of a marathon. Completion waves are hitting, carrying higher rates than anyone underwrote. Rents aren't bailing out the math the way people had hoped, and the buyer pool that used to flip these mid-construction has thinned out completely. When you're competing against the developer's own blowout inventory, plus a dozen other assignment sellers who all need out urgently, the only lever left is price, and it has to be aggressive enough to make an investor stop scrolling and take note. Most aren't though, and that's the situation that we're in. That's why these sit, they bleed, and then sell at numbers that completely bruise clients. I had one earlier this year, a seller of mine who got some bad advice, bought into a pre-construction project, and because of the rates went up and because she leveraged to get into another property, she almost lost $500,000 on a sale. So you need to be very, very careful, not only picking up an assignment, but moving forward, thinking if pre-construction is something that you want to take a part in. Next on the list, and closely tied to those assignments, are those tiny luxury condos that sold between $1,800 to $2,500 a foot off of those glossy new construction renderings. Now that people can actually walk the product, the delta between hype and habitable has been exposed. Buyers are comparing them to larger, better laid out units at a fraction of the cost at under $1,000 a foot, and buyers just cannot rationalize the premium. The result here is months on market, stale optics, and sellers chasing the bid down. In a rate environment where carrying cost matters, square footage and livability beat brand names on the brochure every day of the week currently. Next, condos with high maintenance fees. In any market, they are a drag, but in this market particularly, they are a clamp. Banks treat that fee like a monthly liability, which shrinks the buyer's maximum approval and shrinks your buyer pool. If you're at $900 to $1,200 a month on a 2-bed, your future self will be negotiating with a smaller audience and bigger objections. You can't market your way around the math, and you can't cut concierge and pool midstream to fix it. These units lose velocity first and price second. As the lower mainland undergoes more and more construction with no parking condos outside the downtown market especially are another anchor. Yes, transit adjacent helps, but it does not erase the resale penalty. Most end users still own at least one car, and even buyers without a car think about the next buyer. You remove parking, you remove a chunk of demand, and as a family grows, parking needs increase. In practice, that's a deep discount on day one and the same fight again when you choose to sell. If you're in the downtown markets, you can sometimes ease the pain, but once you start getting out of these major transit hubs, it is a complete portion where buyers are going to have massive objections for you. Fixed tenancy listings are also getting punished. With investors on the sidelines, your buyer is usually an end user who doesn't want to be a landlord for 6 to 12 months. Financing can complicate things as well, as lenders may treat it as an investment purchase. So even with attractive pricing, these languish because the ideal buyer can't actually use the home yet. If you must sell tenant in place, you need surgical pricing and clear communication around timing, obligation, or plan to sit. A helpful negotiation tactic is trying to get that mutual termination. It may cost you as a seller to get your tenants out, but if you can get an agreement in place, even if it costs you more than what you want to spend, you're likely going to be able to make that cost up on the sale of your home. Let's move off of condos and talk physical site risks now. Proximity to major power infrastructure is a silent value drain as well. I've watched great houses with clean renos die on market because a big lattice pylon photobombs the view. You can't plant a hedge tall enough to erase a 150-foot tower, or the infrastructure with a lot of the utilities with these duplexes. You have power poles where they bring the wiring down from the street, or electrical boxes in your main eyesight that people just do not want. The buyer pool shrinks, time on market expands, and price becomes the only persuasion. The same playbook with steep driveways, their everyday friction. Families picture winter access nightmare, seniors picture slips, and low clearance cars picture scraping it. In neighborhoods with otherwise similar stock, the steep approach trades at a meaningful discount and takes a lot longer to move. When it comes to townhomes, two problem sets keep repeating. First, 3-bedroom townhomes with only one parking stall. Family product assumes family logistics. 2 drivers is the default, not the edge case. When a 3-bed only offers 1 stall, you're disqualifying a huge share of your ideal buyer pool. The discount you end up taking is usually larger than the value of that missing stall because you're paying a liquidity penalty, not a parts and labor invoice. When we get keeping on the townhome, another item to be very aware of are 2-bedroom townhomes. In theory, they're a move up from a 2-bed condo, but in practice, a lot of them feel like a condo with stairs. There's no 3rd bedroom for kids or an office, and a price premium that isn't justified when condo choice is plentiful. They can still work when they have a real den, a great outdoor space, or a great location, but as a category, they underperform in slower cycles because they don't solve the family problem that motivates most townhouse buyers. I had a client that was moving up and upsizing out of Vancouver, and they had some options here in Vancouver, but a lot of them were of those 2-bedroom varieties, where we took the same price point, we went a little bit further east into a great pocket in New Westminster, and all of a sudden they went from a 2-bedroom to a 4-bedroom condo and almost doubled their square footage as well. So make that a consideration. All these things have a similar theme. If you're upsizing, you have a bigger home, you need to be able to plan for those future buyers and not just plan for yourself and your specific needs. Now let's enter the detached conversation. Houses without mortgage helper suites in markets where suites are the norm, such as East Vancouver, parts of Burnaby, or New Westminster, removing a suite because you didn't need it is fine when the money is free. But today, the next buyer's debt service is front and center, and a suite can be a 5-figure swing in effective monthly cost and a 6-figure swing in qualification. If your home lacks a suite or the potential for one, you're not just priced lower, you're competing against an easier monthly story across the street. So if you are thinking of removing one, do it smartly so that a new buyer or yourself can bring it back to market when it goes to sell. And if you are not needing those funds, just always ask your question, how long are we going to stay here and who is the likely buyer in the next? When selection expands, the market stops forgiving design compromises, site compromises, and financial compromises. Anything with built-in friction goes to the back of the line. The longer it sits, the worse it looks, and the deeper the eventual price cut. And that's what I always tell my buyer clients. Now that we've gone through some of these examples, let's see how this plays out in real time. If you have just completed on a property, you bought it as a pre-sale in 2021, most sellers want to list at that 2021 price, even though there is no sales data in place. They come to market, and what you're going to see over the first week is no activity, no reach outs, no showings. Week 2 is going to be the same. Week 3, maybe you get a phone call or 2, but you have a hard time getting people into the unit. What a lot of sellers don't understand, not only is it hard to get an offer in this market, it's hard to get bodies through the door. And if you don't price it properly, despite of your feelings and your emotions, you're not going to get any traction. And then once you start getting to that 30-day marker and more, buyers now seeing these on the MLS are going from, is this property even worth it, to what's wrong with it. People just assume because you rack up days on market that there's some sort of problem, even though you may have not even showed it once. And this is what happens in these types of environments when you buy these properties with a question mark. You know, a 2-bedroom townhome that really doesn't offer that much more than a nice laid out 2-bedroom condo, except a lot less stairs, or a 3-bedroom townhome that just has 1 parking stall. These are things that can happen, and if you don't price it properly right from the beginning, you're going to lose a lot more money down the line. So having those price expectations right from the onset to make sure that you're priced properly, especially in this market, is very, very important. And when it comes to seller expectations, they are the accelerant. If you price aspirational on flawed product, you don't get paid for your patience, you get punished for your stubbornness. Markets are efficient at identifying friction and pricing it in, and right now they are completely ruthless. So what do you do when you already own one of these? You have three options here: story, certainty, and price. When it comes to the story, make the use case undeniable. If you're the 2-bedroom townhome, show how the den functions as a nursery or office, highlight private entries, storage, and outdoor living that condos can't match. Certainty. Front load the documentation, the pre-inspection, the depreciation report, highlights, minutes, anything that removes doubt and speeds decisions. Anytime that I have a stigmatized property, especially if it has something to do with the strata with projects, we have a great manual of information right from the onset. We don't hide from anything, and we sell it as a value add instead of something that we're trying to hide from. So you need to get in front of any of those objections. And then thirdly, price. You don't chase the market, you need to meet it. The first public price needs to be the right price. Every steal week taxes your future, not to mention extends your mortgage payments as well. When we come to buyers, this is where you win if you're smart. Don't just lowball everything, target what is mispriced. A power line view, price the compromise and plan to own it longer. Possibly a steep driveway, make sure your vehicle and your life actually fit. And if it's a high fee building, understand the fee trajectory and what it buys you. Sometimes a well-funded, well-run building is worth paying for, but if fees are high and the CRF is thin, that's a double red flag and you need to move on. On townhomes, if there's only one stall, verify real on-street parking options, strata rules around EV charging, and stall rentals before you draft the offer. The discount only matters if you can actually live with that constraint. And when we talk about investor psychology, this is shaping this as well. In 2021, everyone was underwriting and rent growth and cap compression. In 2025, people underwrite on today's rent and the risk of tomorrow's levy. And that's why fixed tenancy units at low legacy rents stall. They just don't carry and the end user can't use them. That's why micro units with concierge and amenity stacks look worse. The fee load eats the yield, and that's why the clean, boring one bed with parking in a well-run building still sells. It's the least complicated path from offer to keys. Going back to the detached, the mortgage helper point matters more than most sellers want to admit. If you're trying to sell a family home without a suite in a neighborhood where 70% of your comps have one, your buyer has to fall in love and afford the extra monthly. Love is fragile when rates bite. And if you have rough-in potential, spend a weekend actually proving it. Ceiling heights, access, egress, mechanical, so buyers can see the path. If you have no path, price like you know that you do. A quick word on optics: days on market is the new Carfax. Buyers read it instantly. If you're holding out for an offer that validates your 2022 equity, the market will hold out on you. The goal isn't to be the last seller to accept reality. The goal is to be the first one in your category to set a believable price and capture the serious buyers before the next wave of reduction lands. And ultimately, where do we go from here? High friction product keeps getting sorted into two builds. There's either value priced and unsold. Low friction product, good layouts, parking, reasonable fees, quiet outlooks, flexible possession still moves. Just with negotiation, power back in the room. This is what a normal market looks like when money costs something. So to recap this list in plain English so you have all the points available to help you with your home search, they are as follows. Stay away from assignments drowning in competition. Micro luxury that isn't livable enough to justify the per foot dream. High free condos that compress approvals and scare buyers. No parking condos outside the core. Fixed tenancy listings that end users can't use. Power line outlooks and steep driveways that kill first impressions. 3-bed townhomes with just the one parking stall. 2-bedroom townhomes that don't solve a problem with the upsize, and suiteless detached in-suite standard neighborhoods. Those are your value traps right here and now in Vancouver and around the Lower Mainland. And if you're selling any of these, here's your action plan. Price to meet the market on day 1 and not chase it on day 45. Build a package that removes every question a serious buyer will ask, whether it comes from minutes, the CRF, bylaws, rentals, parking verifications, measurements, mechanical ages. Get all that information and then stage for the thumbnail and the showing. Buyers shop with their thumbs before they step inside, then set a review cadence. If you haven't had 2 second showings in the first 2 weeks, you're not waiting for the right buyer, you are mispriced. If you're buying, I'll leave you with this. The best deals are rarely the cheapest address. They're the best trade-offs. Find the flaw you can live with that most people can't. Maybe it's the pylon in the distance if your view is inward. Maybe it's a steep driveway if you drive an SUV and work from home. Maybe it's a dated kitchen in a low-fee, well-run building. Overpaying for perfection is out, but paying fairly on fixable is definitely in, and that's where you make back that money. Zooming back out, this shakeout isn't a crash, it's a sorting mechanism. The market is re-ranking product by usefulness, cost to carry, and ease of ownership. You can either fight it or price it with and move on with your life. If you are thinking of bringing something to market and you may have some of these question marks, make sure that you reach out to me so I can give you a proper way forward. You can shoot me a text or you can book a call in the link in the description below. I also have the QR code in the banner where you can book right into my calendar. Just because you have something that has a question mark does not mean it cannot sell. I have sold buildings where they need roof replacements in the strata. I've sold homes that have done non-permitted renovations. You still can have a successful sale, but you need to partner with the right agent. If you found this useful, make sure that you tap subscribe and drop a comment with which category you want me to deep dive next, whether it's assignments, high fee towers, or the sweet math on detached. I'll build out that episode with real examples and what to do about it. And for anyone who is currently sitting on a stale listing, here's a little tough love. Photos, price, promise. Fix at least one immediately. If you can fix two, you'll likely sell. If you fix all three, you will win. I'll see you on the next one.